This is episode 1. The Scream. On a peaceful day towards the end of summer, a man was walking along an old bridge. Let's call him Mr. A or Dr. A. Frankly, it could be anything. But at this point, Mr. A won't terribly mind that we don't remember his salutation. He appeared out of place that day because he wore knee length socks, sneakers, shorts, a plaid shirt, and a heavy wind cheater. His attire did not make sense given what time of the day he was walking. I can't imagine how Mr. A might be feeling because it looked like the wind cheater and the plaid shirt were roasting his upper body while the shorts were freezing his lower. It was like a cold turkey someone promised themselves they would eat the next day. Even though he was wrapped bizarrely, physical experiences didn't seem to be on the top of his list. Mr. A tucked his hands inside his pockets, the sleeve of his wind cheater rolling onto the pocket stitch, and walked at a leisurely pace. For any sightseer, it looked like he was savoring the beautiful weather. Only upon careful observation would you notice that he looked really forlorn and worn out. He wasn't walking entirely leisurely. He was just dragging his feet along as he walked the distance from one side of the bridge to the middle. In fact, the bridge was just as he had read about it. He didn't even know how he stumbled upon that bridge, or that location for that matter. The entire area was deserted. It had to be. After all, the closest village was half a day's drive from the bridge. The only reason someone would come this way is if they were lost on their way home. Not even the most adventurous of travelers stumbled by this place because there was no reason for anyone to find it. Besides, it's not like the place was scenic or anything. It was ordinary. For that matter, Mr. A did not remember how he came to know about this bridge or how he decided he would fly 2 hours, endure a layover of 6 hours, travel for another four, and then walk for an hour just to reach this place. Whatever else he may be, Mr. A certainly is determined. It was nearly evening. Even if someone would have walked by the bridge on an ordinary day, they certainly wouldn't want to walk by at this time of the day. Besides, it was nearly monsoon. Evenings in monsoon were risky considering how much rainfall, torrential in fact, this place endured every year. The entire place reeked of accidents from landslides and rainfall heavy enough to wash you away. Mr. A was sure that if one looked hard enough, one would find skeletons enough to fund every single research laboratory on the planet. He guffawed at that thought because he would soon get to know more about it anyway. Ethereal or not. For someone who discovered the bridge by sheer luck, he certainly seemed to know enough about it. But in reality, all he knew was what he read on Reddit. That place was a treasure trove of information. You could find anything that you wanted there. As the sun crept lower and lower over the hills, the place became eerily quiet. The buzz of bugs and the rustling of leaves were his only companion for the twilight. He didn't mind that terribly. He appreciated quietude and peace at that moment because it just meant that he could do what he came out to do without any interruptions. No one would disturb him while he did what he wanted to do. Nobody would use cliched dialogue so that he would be dissuaded from the act. And what was he doing? Something obvious. He was just trying to die. He was trying to commit suicide. He hated when people intervened, trying to help someone who was committing suicide. He thought how the fact that the person came till there meant that they had a steely resolve. Why mess up their last moments? He remembered how he had read that someone committing suicide would enjoy their last moments because the pain was about to end. And he certainly seemed to enjoy that moment. This poor soul did not understand why interventions were necessary because he wasn't in the mood for enduring an intervention. He made up his mind and did not think there would be some people whom you can convince that life was just worth it. The rustic bridge had a drop of 150 meters onto a dried up riverbed. It is small wonder that this bridge was notorious for the number of suicides it facilitated. How did Mr. A know that? Well, he didn't really know. All he read were the two replies under the Reddit subthread. Rather unsurprisingly, most of the suicides only happened when no one else was walking by the bridge. Which isn't that unlikely because footfall was few on that bridge. The few people who seemed to know about it, the ones who were alive anyway, spoke about the location as if they had done their research well. He clutched the rope railing for the bridge and looked over it at the horizon. The riverbed was mostly dried with only small bodies of water scattered over the entire area. Where there was no water, grass had claimed the territory. However, it looked so suspicious that you would not want to step there. But the area under the bridge was a hard riverbed, so broken bones, forget death, was inevitable. As he stood gazing over the railing, a gentle breeze wafted over the riverbed. The weather was perfect, making it even better because he wouldn't have to sweat in his last moments. One wouldn't know what or how Mr. A was thinking in that moment. Mr. A just wanted to end it on a happy note, even if it wasn't the one that he wanted. His loved ones would miss him. Oh, they certainly would. That much was true. He remembered that one story of how one person's death had caused a ripple effect, making so many others feel such tragedy for such a long time. But at that moment, he just did not care. He just wanted to stop hurting. He thought of that little poem that he had written that had resonated so much with him that he stuck it to his refrigerator at home. For a fleeting moment, he wondered what would happen to his entire property. He didn't really write a will. Again, at that moment, it didn't really matter. He didn't remember the poem verbatim because he tended to forget what he wrote most of the time. But this time, this little stanza in the poem there, it ran in his mind repeatedly as if hoping that somehow he would change his decision, at least this time. And this was it. Would I talk of beloved content, or to the beloved to be content? I wonder if I die, would there be pain, or others would be happy and it not be in vain? Back when he had written the poem, he felt like it encapsulated his pain and hurt. Now, however, it just felt gibberish. He felt like the writing of someone who was trying hard to work the lines rather than the pain itself. How would you tell someone that art relies heavily on pain, not on what someone felt in that moment? But the poem was still stuck to the fridge and it would stay there for however long people would leave it there. In some way, he hoped people would find the little poem and read the note he had taped beside it. His mind was awash with all these thoughts as he gazed at the riverbed once more. The fall was pretty direct, with nothing to hinder the fall. The bridge itself wasn't distinctive. It was rustic, with moss on the railings and the wooden footboards. It was like the local authorities simply couldn't be cared to make the bridge safer. But then again, who really came by this road so frequently that the bridge had to be secure? Because of the decay, jagged edges and dragged floorboards were all that made the bridge. Mr. A looked up at the sky once more. It felt different now. It was like something changed, something that altered the weather. Rain clouds started slowly setting in out of nowhere. Even until a few moments ago, the sky had been pretty clear. But it was as if dusk came rolling in and along with it came rain clouds. A gentle fog started rolling in from one end of the bridge. That seemed a little suspicious too. Up until a few moments ago, you could see the other side of the bridge, but now the fog obscured it. The whole atmosphere looked like something out of a movie. Mr. A thought to himself ruefully that he could relate to the situation. He acknowledged how the weather reflected how he felt at that moment. He stepped over the railing rope and stood on the edge of a couple of floorboards, clutching the rope behind him. It was like he was just waiting for the right time to jump. It wasn't like he had any reasons to back off now. It certainly wasn't like he had any reasons to reconsider his decisions. All that remained was steeling his resolve to take that first step towards that plunge. That felt like the only decision that was truly his, but he did not know why he was unable to take that step forward. Stay tuned for episode 2 of Scream.